morning fog hung low over the pine trees as Dr. Olivia Grant stepped out of the military helicopter. The wind from the blades whipped her dark hair across her face. She brushed it away and looked at the smoking crater that cut into the side of Mount Rainier. Soldiers formed a tight circle around the site. Their faces were tense. Something big had happened here. Olivia pulled her jacket tighter against the cold mountain air. She had been eating dinner when the call came. That was 12 hours ago. Now she stood at the edge of what might be the most important scientific discovery in human history. Admiral Alan Porter walked up beside her. His uniform was crisp despite the long night. "Dr. Grant, thank you for coming so quickly," he said. His voice was deep and serious. "Follow me." They walked toward the center of the crater. The ground was strangely cool. Whatever had hit here had not burned the earth as a meteor would. Olivia knew right away this was not normal. As they reached the center of the crater, she saw it. The object was about 40 feet long and shaped like a teardrop. Its surface shimmered with colors that seemed to shift and move. It looked wet, but was perfectly dry to the touch. The object had no visible doors or windows. No markings of any kind. "What do you make of it, Dr. Grant?" asked the Admiral. His weathered face gave away nothing of his thoughts. Olivia moved closer to the object. She wanted to touch it but stopped herself. "It's not from here," she replied simply. Her hand hovered inches from the strange surface. "And I don't think it crashed." "I think it was sent." The Admiral nodded slowly. "That's what we were afraid of." Within hours, the military had built a temporary research center near the crater. They called it Lighthouse. Olivia was put in charge of a team of scientists. Dr. Evan Riley was an expert in alien theory. He had wild red hair and spoke too fast when excited. Dr. Sofia Martinez was the best quantum specialist in the country. She was quiet but brilliant. The three of them worked day and night to understand the strange object. "It's like nothing we've ever seen," said Evan, looking at samples under a powerful microscope. "The material doesn't match any known element." Sophia nodded. "The atomic structure keeps changing. It's as if it's alive somehow." On the 5th day, Olivia made an important discovery. Using a powerful magnifying lens, she found tiny threads thinner than human hair, covering the surface of the ship. "Look at this," she called to the others. They huddled around her computer screen. These filaments might be some kind of sensor. Evan scratched his head. Or maybe a defense system. Olivia had an idea. "What if we try a small electrical current?" They set up the equipment carefully. When everything was ready, Olivia pressed the button. A tiny spark jumped from the probe to the ship's surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the filaments began to glow with a soft blue light. The light spread across the surface like water. Before their amazed eyes, the ship began to change. The smooth surface rippled and split along invisible lines. With no sound at all, the ship opened like a flower blooming in the sun. The three scientists stepped back. Armed guards raised their weapons. But nothing dangerous came out. Instead, the opening revealed a dark space inside. Light slowly came on within the ship, showing a room with strange objects. "We need to document everything," said Olivia. Her heart was racing. Sophia set up the recording equipment. "Evan, help me prepare to go inside." Admiral Porter arrived as they were getting ready to enter the ship. "Are you sure this is safe, Doctor?" he asked. Olivia shook her head. "Not at all. But we have to look. Whatever sent this ship might be coming next." Inside, the air was cool and smelled like nothing on Earth. The walls glowed with a soft light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. There were no sharp corners anywhere. Everything curved smoothly into everything else. In the center of the main room was what looked like a control panel. It had no buttons or screens, just smooth surfaces with faint lines. Sophia ran her instruments over everything. "The energy readings are off the charts," she whispered. Evan pointed to the walls. "Look at these markings. They could be some kind of writing." Olivia moved deeper into the ship. In a smaller room, she found something that made her blood run cold. It was a three-dimensional map of stars. Some were marked with strange symbols. With a shock, she realized one of the marked stars was our sun. Earth was highlighted, but not as a target. The symbols around it suggested something else. "I think I know what this ship is," she said when the others joined her. "It's not an attack craft. It's a warning." Over the next few weeks, they learned more about the ship. It had a propulsion system that seemed to bend space itself. The weapons on board could destroy entire cities with a single shot. The technology was hundreds of years ahead of anything on Earth. One night, as Olivia was studying the star maps, she noticed something strange. The marked stars formed a pattern. They were all along a single path through space, and Earth was next in line. She called Admiral Porter immediately. "I think I know why the ship was sent," she said. "Something is coming. Something that has already visited these other stars, and whatever it is, it's headed our way." The Admiral's face grew grim. "How long do we have?" Olivia looked at her calculations again. Based on the distance between these stars and the estimated travel time, maybe 2 years, maybe less. "Then we better get to work," said the Admiral, "because if you're right, we're going to need every advantage we can get." 6 months passed quickly at the NASA Research Center in Houston. The alien ship had been moved there under heavy guard. A special building was made just to hold it. The team of scientists had grown from 3 to 30. They worked in shifts around the clock. Olivia hardly slept anymore. There was too much to learn and too little time. Chief Engineer Nathan Wright joined the team 2 months ago. He was tall with kind eyes and clever hands. He focused on the ship's power source. Today he ran into the main lab with excitement on his face. "I did it," he said, breathing hard. "I figured out how the power core works." Everyone gathered around. Nathan placed a small device on the table. It was the size of a softball but heavier than it looked. It glowed with a faint purple light. "It's a contained quantum singularity," he explained. "Like a tiny black hole held in perfect balance. It generates more power than all the nuclear plants on Earth combined." Olivia smiled for the first time in weeks. "This changes everything. With this kind of power, we could build ships of our own, maybe even weapons to defend Earth." The team celebrated their breakthrough. It was the first real hope they had found. But the good feeling didn't last long. Evan burst into the room an hour later. His face was pale. "They're shutting us down," he announced. "The Pentagon is taking over the entire project. They want everything classified at the highest level. No one outside military command can access our research anymore." Olivia couldn't believe it. "They can't do that. This is too important for one country to control. This affects all of humanity." But there was nothing they could do. By evening, military officers were boxing up their research. Computers were locked down. Everyone was told to go home and wait for new orders. Olivia didn't go home. Instead, she went to her private office and connected a small drive to her computer. She began copying the most important files. She knew it was against the rules, maybe even against the law, but she also knew that humanity needed this knowledge to survive. As she worked, the door to her office opened. She quickly hid the drive, but it wasn't security. It was a woman in a naval uniform Olivia had never seen before. "Dr. Grant," the woman said quietly. "My name is Commander Zoe Freeman. Naval Intelligence. We need to talk." Olivia stood up slowly. "About what?" "About the ship," said Freeman. "And about the others." Olivia felt cold suddenly. "Others?" Freeman closed the door and lowered her voice. "The ship you found wasn't the first. There have been others, and we've been hiding them for decades." They talked for hours. Freeman explained that a secret group within the military had found alien technology before. They had been working on weapons based on that technology. They thought they were building defenses. But they had accidentally turned on a beacon. The crashed ship wasn't sent as a warning. It was running away from something much worse. "They're coming," Freeman said. Her eyes were serious. "And what we've built may have invited a war we can't win." Across the galaxy, huge ships powered up their engines. They were black and shaped like giant spiders. Red lights glowed along their sides. A race called the Vorsic controlled these ships. They had destroyed many worlds before. Now they were coming to Earth. Freeman took Olivia to a secret room beneath the research center. Inside were 5 people Olivia had never seen before. They looked tired and worried. "These are the others," said Freeman. "Scientists who worked on the previous ships. They've been hidden away, forced to work in secret. But now they want to help." An older man stepped forward. His name was Dr. Paul Bennett. "We made mistakes," he said. "We thought we were protecting Earth by building these weapons. But the quantum signals they give off can be detected across space. The Vorsic hunt down any civilization that uses this kind of technology." Olivia understood now. The ship that crashed was trying to warn us. To tell us to stop using the technology before it was too late. Freeman nodded. But the government didn't listen. They want the weapons. They think they can win a war against whatever comes. Olivia looked at the group of hidden scientists. "So what do we do now?" Dr. Bennett smiled sadly. We do what scientists have always done when governments make bad choices. We go around them. They made a plan that night. Each person would take part of the research and go to a different country. They would build a network of scientists around the world. Together they would prepare humanity for what was coming. Not with weapons that would only make things worse, but with shields and other defenses. Maybe even a way to communicate with the Vorsic. Olivia was given the hardest job. She would stay at NASA and pretend to work with the military. She would feed them harmless information while secretly helping the others. It was dangerous, but she was the only one the military still trusted. As dawn broke, they went their separate ways. Olivia returned to her apartment to pack a few things. She would be moved to a new facility tomorrow. As she looked out her window at the rising sun, she wondered if Earth would ever see peaceful days again. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, the Vorsic fleet moved steadily closer. Their ships numbered in the hundreds. Their weapons could crack planets. They had destroyed every civilization that had ever challenged them, and now they were coming for Earth. Humanity had 18 months to prepare. 18 months to find a way to survive. Olivia took a deep breath and steeled herself for what was to come. The real work was just beginning. 18 months passed too quickly. Olivia stood in the underground base deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. They called this place Bastion Alpha. It was built to survive anything, even nuclear war. Now it would face something much worse. On screens around the room, she watched as the first Vorsic ships appeared. They came from behind the moon, huge and black like giant spiders. People around the world looked up in fear as these massive ships moved into Earth's sky. They were bigger than cities. Their shadows fell over New York, Beijing, London, and other major cities across the planet. Bastion Alpha became the center of Earth's defense efforts. Scientists from 30 countries worked side by side. Old enemies now worked together because they all faced the same threat. Captain Ryan Carter led the security teams. He had been a Special Forces soldier before all this. Now he protected the scientists who might save humanity. He stood beside Olivia as they watched the main screen. "How many ships?" he asked. Olivia checked the data. "We count 23 major warships and over 100 smaller craft." The room fell silent as a message came from the lead Vorsic ship. It appeared on screens worldwide. The alien that spoke looked like a tall, thin human but with gray skin and 4 yellow eyes. Its voice was deep and cold. "People of Earth, you have been using technology that does not belong to you. The quantum weapons you have built have drawn our attention. Surrender these weapons and your planet's resources to the Vorsic Dominion or face extinction. You have one Earth day to decide." World leaders quickly gathered in an emergency meeting. Most wanted to fight. A few suggested surrender. In the end, they decided to ask for more time to consider. The Vorsic responded with a demonstration of power. They targeted the island of Madagascar. In a flash of red light, the entire island and its 3 million people simply vanished. Only a boiling sea remained where it had been. The message was clear. The Vorsic would not wait, and they had the power to destroy Earth piece by piece. "We need more time," Olivia told the War Council that gathered in Bastion Alpha. "The quantum filament technology works in our tests. We can disrupt their shield systems, but we need more time to build enough weapons." General Laura Reeves, who led Earth's United Military Forces, looked grim. "How soon can we deploy something useful?" 2 weeks for a working prototype," said Chief Engineer Heather Daniels. She had been working with Olivia since the beginning. "Maybe less if we skip some safety tests." "People are dying by the millions while we talk," said the general. "Skip the tests. Get me something that can hurt these bastards." The Vorsic began their attack the next day. They started with military bases using precise energy beams that cut through any defense. Then they hit power plants and water systems. They were careful not to destroy cities yet. They wanted Earth's resources intact. The resistance worked day and night. They called their secret weapon Sun Spear. It combined alien quantum technology with human creativity. The Vorsic were powerful, but they fought in predictable ways. Humans had been fighting against stronger enemies throughout their bloody history. They had gotten very good at finding weaknesses. Olivia barely slept for days as they finished the first Sunspear prototype. It was a small device, no bigger than a car. But it could disrupt the quantum fields that powered Vorsic ships. "Will it work?" asked Captain Carter as they prepared to test it. Olivia wiped sweat from her face. "In theory, yes. But we've never tested it against actual Vorsic technology." The test target was a piece of a Vorsic fighter ship that had been shot down over Russia. The small craft had crashed mostly intact. Russian special forces had recovered it at great cost. Now it sat in a concrete bunker half a mile from the main base. Olivia activated the Sunspear device. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then the piece of Vorsic technology began to vibrate. Its surface changed from black to gray. Cracks appeared along its sides. Finally, it crumbled into dust. The test was a success. But one small weapon would not be enough to save Earth. They needed hundreds, maybe thousands. And they needed a way to get them close to the Vorsic ships. "We can build more," said Heather. "But how do we deliver them?" "The Vorsic control the skies." The answer came from an unexpected place. Dr. Malik Singh was a computer scientist from India. He had been working on a different problem. "What if we don't send soldiers?" he suggested. "What if we send gamers?" His idea was brilliant in its simplicity. The world's best video game players had amazing reflexes and could think in 3 dimensions. With minimal training, they could pilot small drones carrying Sunspear devices. The drones would be hard to detect and could slip through Vorsic defenses. Training began immediately. Young people who had spent their lives playing games now trained to save the world. They learned to fly the small, fast drones that would carry Sunspear devices. Among them was Diana Patel, a former esports champion. She mastered the drone controls faster than anyone. Meanwhile, Olivia and her team kept working to improve Sunspear. They found ways to make it smaller and more powerful. They also discovered something unexpected. The quantum field generated by Sunspear didn't just destroy Vorsic technology. It could also reprogram it. If they got close enough to a Vorsic ship, they might be able to turn its weapons against other enemy ships. Time was running out. The Vorsic had already destroyed major cities in Europe and Asia. Millions were dead. Billions more would die if the resistance failed. But for the first time since the invasion began, humanity had hope. The counterattack would begin soon. And the Vorsic were about to learn that humans were not easy to defeat. Dawn broke over the ruins of what was once San Francisco. The sky glowed red from fires that still burned across the city. High above, the dark shapes of Vorsic ships moved slowly like giant spiders watching their prey. Inside Bastion Alpha, Admiral Kevin Wade addressed the gathered commanders. His face was tired, but his eyes burned with determination. "This isn't about matching their firepower," he told them. "It's about using what they don't expect." Operation Thunderfall was ready to begin. 5,000 small drones had been built in secret factories around the world. Each one carried a Sunspear device no bigger than a coffee cup. The drones were fast and nearly impossible to detect. They had been painted black to blend with the darkness of space. The drone pilots sat in secure rooms deep underground. They wore special helmets that let them see through the eyes of their drones. Diana Patel led the first wave of pilots. She had trained them hard. Many had been professional gamers before the war. Now they used those skills to fight for real. "Remember your training," she told her team. "Stay in the shadow of their ships. Don't let them see you until it's too late." The attack began at dawn. The drones were launched from hidden sites around the world. They rose quickly into the sky, too small for Vorsic sensors to notice. The plan was simple but dangerous. The drones would attach to the Vorsic ships and activate their Sunspear devices. If everything worked, the quantum field would disrupt the ship's shields and weapons. Diana led her group toward the largest Vorsic ship over North America. It was called a dreadnought by Earth forces. It was as big as a small city. Its weapons had destroyed most of the West Coast. Diana's drone moved carefully along the dark hull of the massive ship. She could see other drones doing the same. They looked for places where the ship's armor was thinnest. Suddenly, alarm signals flashed. The Vorsic had detected something. Defense systems came online. Small fighter craft poured out of the big ships. "Stay calm," Diana told her team. "Stick to the plan. They can't hit what they can't see." She guided her drone to a spot near what looked like an engine. She activated the magnetic clamps. The drone attached firmly to the hull. Then she triggered the Sunspear device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the section of hull around her drone began to shimmer and change color. The effect spread quickly across the ship. Diana pulled her drone away just in time. The Vorsic ship's weapons turned and fired, but not at the drones. They fired at another Vorsic ship nearby. All across the sky, the same thing was happening. The Sunspear devices weren't just disrupting the Vorsic technology. They were reprogramming it. Ship fired on ship. Weapons turned against their own side. Engines shut down or exploded. In the confusion, the second phase of the attack began. The USS Defiance rose from its secret underground base in the Nevada desert. It was Earth's first true starship, built using the technology from the crashed alien vessel. Commander Howard Ellis sat in the captain's chair. He had been a Navy pilot before the war. Now he commanded humanity's greatest hope. "All systems online," reported his second-in-command, Lisa Chen. "Quantum shields at full power." The Defiance was small compared to the Vorsic ships, but it was fast and carried the most powerful version of the Sunspear weapon. It rose quickly into the battle above. Vorsic ships tried to target it, but their systems were in chaos from the drone attacks. The Defiance slipped through their defenses and positioned itself in the center of the Vorsic fleet. "Sunspear deployment in 3, 2, 1, counted down Commander Ellis. His finger pressed the button. A wave of energy burst from the Defiance in all directions. It was invisible to human eyes but devastating to Vorsic technology. Every ship it touched began to malfunction. Their weapons fired randomly. Their engines pushed them in wrong directions. Some ships crashed into each other at high speed. Others simply shut down and drifted in space. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it was over, most of the Vorsic fleet over North America had been destroyed or disabled. Similar attacks around the world had the same results. For the first time since the invasion began, the skies over Earth were clear of enemy ships. In Bastion Alpha, people cheered and hugged each other. Tears of joy and relief flowed freely, but Olivia did not join the celebration. She stood looking at the data from long-range sensors. "It's not over," she told Admiral Wade when he found her. "What do you mean?" "We just destroyed their entire invasion force." Olivia pointed to the screen. "This was just their advance force. The main Vorsic fleet is still out there. These readings show them about 6 months away from Earth. And there are hundreds more ships coming." The Admiral's smile faded. "How many?" "At least 500 major warships. Maybe more." The room fell silent as the news spread. The victory they had just won suddenly felt small. But they had learned something important. The Vorsic could be beaten. Humanity had won its first battle among the stars. Now they had 6 months to prepare for the real war. "We need to build more ships like the Defiance," said the Admiral. "And train more pilots," and Olivia nodded. "And we need to improve Sunspear. Make it more powerful with longer range." Around the world, the news of victory gave people new hope and energy. Factories that had been building drones now started work on larger ships. The moon became the site of Earth's first space shipyard. Young people volunteered in millions to become pilots and crew. The war had just begun, but humanity was no longer fighting just to survive. They were fighting to win. 2 years after the first Vorsic ship appeared in Earth's sky, the planet had changed completely. Huge defense platforms orbited like new moons. Shipyards on the actual moon and Mars built vessels day and night. Every nation, every person worked toward one goal: survival. Admiral Olivia Grant stood on the bridge of the EDF Lightbringer. It was the most advanced ship ever built by human hands. 10 times larger than the Defiance, it carried weapons that could destroy a Vorsic dreadnought with a single shot. Beside, her commander Victor Mendez worked at the control panel. A special helmet connected his mind directly to the ship's systems. This technology came from studying the Vorsic ships they had captured. "The enemy fleet is 1 day out from Jupiter," reported Intelligence Officer Grace Wilson. She pointed to the large screen that showed the solar system. Red dots marked the approaching Vorsic ships. There were hundreds of them. "Their main force is heading straight for Earth. But we're picking up strange readings from some of the ships at the edges of their fleet." The past 6 months had brought an unexpected ally. A group of aliens called the Arcturians had contacted Earth. They too had fought the Vorsic and lost their homeworld. Now they helped humans prepare for the coming battle. Their ships joined Earth's defense fleet. Together they might have a chance. The plan was risky but might work. While the main fleet engaged the Vorsic forces, a small team would sneak through to the Vorsic command ship. There they would deploy the Nexus Key, a device that could shut down the connection between the Vorsic hive mind and its drone armies. Without that connection, the Vorsic would lose their advantage of perfect coordination. Lieutenant Darren Foster led the infiltration team. He had survived the destruction of his hometown when the Vorsic destroyed Madagascar. He had nothing left to lose. "This ends today," he told his team as they boarded their small, fast ship, one way or another. The final battle began near the orbit of Mars. The human Arcturian fleet met the Vorsic armada head-on. Space lit up with weapon fire. Ships exploded on both sides. The Lightbringer led the attack, its quantum weapons tearing through Vorsic shields. But there were so many enemy ships. For every one they destroyed, 3 more took its place. Foster's ship slipped through the chaos of battle. It was small and painted black to avoid detection. They used the larger explosions as cover, moving quickly when Vorsic sensors would be blinded by the bright flashes. They reached the massive Vorsic command ship and found a small opening in its outer hull. Their ship was just small enough to fit through. Inside, they moved carefully through dark corridors. The ship was alive with activity as the Vorsic directed their forces in the battle. Foster led his team deeper into the ship. Their goal was the central chamber where the hive mind controller was located. Back in the main battle, something strange began to happen. The quantum weapons used by both sides started to interact in unexpected ways. Space itself seemed to bend and warp around the fighting ships. Olivia noticed it first. "Something's wrong," she told Victor. "The quantum readings are off the charts. It's like the fabric of space is tearing." Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked the Lightbringer, but it wasn't from a Vorsic weapon. A hole had opened in space itself. Through it, they could see something impossible. Another universe or dimension bleeding into their own. And something was coming through. Huge shapes larger than any ship moved in that strange space beyond the tear. They were not solid but made of energy and darkness mixed together. One reached through the hole and touched a nearby Vorsic ship. The ship simply vanished as if it had never existed. "What is that?" asked Grace, her face pale with fear. An Arcturian commander appeared on the screen. "It is the Void," he said. "The thing the Vorsic have been running from, the reason they attack other worlds. They are trying to stay ahead of it." Olivia understood in a flash of insight. The Vorsic weren't conquerors by choice. They were refugees, always moving, always seeking new resources to stay ahead of this greater threat. And now the quantum weapons used in the battle had torn open a door and let the Void into this part of space. In the Vorsic command ship, Foster's team reached the central chamber. They were prepared to fight their way in. But when the doors opened, they found the Vorsic commanders in panic. The alien leaders were tall with gray skin and 4 yellow eyes. They moved quickly around the room, speaking in their strange language. The team was spotted, but instead of attacking, a Vorsic commander approached them. It spoke in broken human language. "You see now? The Void comes. Fight no more. Join or all die." Foster was confused. Then he saw the screens around the room. They showed the same tiers in space that Olivia had seen, the same dark shapes moving through. He made a quick decision. Instead of deploying the Nexus key to disable the Vorsic, he activated his communication link. "Admiral Grant, can you hear me?" "We hear you, Lieutenant. What's your status?" "Don't use the Nexus key. I repeat, abort that part of the mission. The Vorsic are not the real enemy. There's something else out there. Something worse. The Vorsic are running from it, and now it's here." On the Lightbringer, Olivia made the hardest decision of her life. She opened a channel to the Vorsic command ship. "This is Admiral Olivia Grant of Earth. We propose an immediate ceasefire and alliance against this new threat." For a long moment, there was silence. Then a response came. "We accept. The Void must be stopped." Across the battlefield, weapons fell silent. Former enemies turned to face a common threat. The tiers in space were growing larger. More of the dark shapes were coming through. The stars still burned with the fires of war, but now humans fought alongside their former enemies. The greatest strength of humanity had always been their ability to adapt, to form unlikely alliances in the face of extinction. The true battle for the universe had only just begun.